Do you know how to deliver a coaching experience that not only gets results, but actually keeps clients coming back and renewing over and over again? Today, we are breaking down what it really takes to turn a coaching session into a long-term, trusted coaching relationship. Welcome to the Mars Fitness Coaching Podcast, where we explore what it really takes to build thriving coaching practices. If you find our content valuable, please hit that subscribe button. I know it's just a small gesture, but it really means the world to us because it helps us bring this content out to more coaches like yourself. Now, today I am joined by Rich Bernstein, CEO of Mars Fitness Coaching, who is helping hundreds of coaches every year deliver lasting value and build real client loyalty. Rich, thank you very much for joining us. Please tell us what turns the first session into a long-term relationship.
That's a great question. And I think a lot of coaches struggle with that very first session to give enough value that not only does that person want to work with you, but they can actually see a long-term relationship. So I think it's critical that when you start a brand new session, you've never met the person before, they've agreed to sit down. Typically, we start with a complimentary session, and we want to make that session so powerful, so poignant that they then want to at least begin the relationship, and then we can talk about how to keep them long term after that. That first session has to have three components to it. Number one has to be where they are now. That's such an important point is don't just get right away into what do you want. You have to start with what we call the dissatisfaction. We have a formula for change that we use, the dissatisfaction times the vision, and add that first step. What we really want to do in that first session is start with that dissatisfaction. Where are they now? And you can't just say, where are you now, and just get an answer and then move on from there. You have to show them that you're a really good listener. You have to show them that you hear them. We use a tool called narrative therapy, where we literally drill into what they actually said using their words. So that's number one. That's a skill you have to learn, is how to use narrative therapy where they feel heard and understood.
Yeah.
Once you've done that and you have clarity around where they are now, the next step, and this is critical, is where do they want to go? What are they really looking for? Because as I've said many times in these podcasts, is people know what they don't want very clearly. They know what they don't like very clearly. What they don't know and have really not spent a lot of time on is what do they really want? And what does that really look like? And I try to get my coaches to employ all the senses. What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Getting all of the senses where that person can feel it, touch it, taste it, of what they really want. And believe it or not, that's harder than it sounds because people don't know what they want. So I'm taking their biggest dissatisfaction and turning it upside down. So what if you didn't have that dissatisfaction? What would your life look like? And then what do you call that? Now they have a vision. Once you have that vision, the biggest mistake, let me talk about that first, that coaches make is they try to solve that right here, right now in this session. And I'm going to tell you now, the minute you try to solve that and you come up with some kind of solution, oh, I tried that already. Oh yeah, I tried that. I've tried everything. You know how many times I've heard those words? I've tried everything. So what are you going to do? If you can't show them where they are and where they want to go without any solutions, that's the biggest thing, is not giving them a solution, is just where they are and where they want to go. The third component is then you have to connect it to the why. Why do you want that? Why is that important to you? What if you didn't get that? Where would you be a year from now or 6 months from now if you didn't have that vision? So it's the clarity around where they are, where they want to go, and connect it to the why. Once you have those three components, they typically will say, yep, you're the kind of guy because you showed me where I am and where I want to go. You connected to the why. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of clients, they say, well, I don't know why. I just want that. Well, you have to help them find that why. When they find that why, that creates the desire to have it. So you must, in that first session, whether it's complimentary or paid for, have those three components. Where they are, where they want to go. And I'm talking about clearly, not just, oh, I want to have a happy marriage. That's the most nebulous thing I ever heard. Or I want a successful business. I get that all the time. I just want to be successful. I go, okay, so what does that look like? I don't know, successful. I don't know what that looks like to you. I know what it looks like to me because I have a great coach that's made me define what success looks like to me.
And do you have any techniques to get to the why? Because people may not tell you their real why right away.
In fact, you're 100% right. They not only don't tell you the real why, they don't even know what it is. They have this superficial, oh, because I want to be happy.
Mhm.
What is that? So the key, like I said, is using narrative therapy, where you're taking everything that comes out of their mouth and peeling it apart and looking what's inside that. And whatever they say, what's inside that. The first why typically is superficial. It's
Mhm.
not an emotional why. I had a client once say to me, well, Rich, I want to get healthy. I want to go to the gym. I want to start eating better. And I said, why is that important to you? And he said, because I want to live longer. I said,
Okay.
okay. I accepted that first superficial why. The
Mhm.
next week, when he didn't do anything he said he was going to do, and I said, but don't you want to live longer? He said, no, not today. Not really. I don't feel like it today. So that told me that was not deep enough, emotional enough. The
Right.
next time I got a guy that actually said, I just want to live longer. I said, why? Why is that important to you? Well, because my little girl, I want to see her grow up and get married. I go, okay, and why is that important to you? Oh, because I'd like to see grandchildren running around during the holidays. And, I'm getting to that real emotional why. Now I can hold them accountable.
So you'd say ask at least three times, why is that important to you?
Sometimes five. Well, why is that important? And then
Okay.
whatever they say, yeah, but why is that important? And you'll see within three, four, five of those whys, you're going to hit emotion.
Mhm.
I get that with men that, I haven't talked to my wife in 2 weeks. We don't talk anymore. We don't communicate anymore. Well, how long are you going to do that? And then I'm going to wind up getting divorced. Well, how important is that? And what if you do get divorced? Take them all the way down the road of what they're saying,
Mhm.
connecting it to the why.
Yeah. Because then now you have a strong motivator, right? As something that kind of
Exactly.
a driver, right?
And
Hmm.
so do they.
Hmm.
It's not you having it. Yes, I'm going to use it to hold them
Or you
accountable,
remind
but
them,
I
right?
want
Yeah.
them to have this
Yeah.
emotional why. So they wake up tomorrow morning and go, I really do want that. It's really important to me
Hmm.
because you drill down into the emotion of the importance.
Cool.
I remember in business coaching once telling a client when I would bring them through and show them how much more money we can make in the business. And then
Hmm.
I'd say, okay, now do you want coaching? No, I want to think about it. The minute I started switching that question to an emotional question, like,
Hmm.
what are you going to do with all that money?
Hmm.
It changed everything. They started buying from me because they started seeing I'm going to take a vacation. I'm going to put my kids through college. I'm going to give my wife some investments, things like that. It started to become a real emotional why instead of just making more money.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think it's, as you said, it's important for them to have to understand their why, and it's helpful to you for the
That's why
coach.
coaching is so powerful because we don't ask ourselves, why do I want that?
Mm.
And if we do ask ourselves, it's usually a superficial answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody says, yeah, but why do I want that? And then, well, why do I want that? And why is that important to me?
Mhm.
If you do that, you will have a lot more drive, motivation, and opportunity in front of you because you're really asking yourself the coaching questions that a coach would typically ask you.
Brilliant. How Mars Venus Coaching train their coaches in that process to have their clients come back for years and years.
I'm going to say it in one word, and no coaching school teaches this:
Mhm.
measuring. I'm going to tell you right now, when we create a 90-day plan, we take a client through a process of first we bring them to clarity. As I said, we do that in the first session, and we have them fill out a document that brings them a real deep level of where they are and where they want to go.
Mhm.
We then take that because we're going to create a 90-day plan. 90-day plan is 12 weeks. So what we're going to do is take where they are and where they want to go and put it on a scale, a measurable scale. And we're
Mhm.
going to take that measurable scale wherever they are. Let's say they're a 2 and they want to be a 10. And we're going to take that 8-point difference and divide it by 12 weeks. And every single week, they're going to implement certain strategies that we discuss in the session. And the following week, I'm going to say, where are you now on that scale?
Hmm.
And the next week, implement strategies. Where are you now on the scale? Where are you now? Where are you now? Where are you? And so they actually not just feel better, but they see the improvement. No
Right.
other coaching school teaches that. We
Mhm.
literally take the gap of where they are and where they want to go times three goals, because we're always working on three. And that division of divided by 12 is now we have a tracking mark, an
Yeah.
actual goal every week. Not at the end of the 12 weeks. We have that as well. But we definitely want to look at week to week. And I can see that my relationship was a 4. Now it's a 4.5. Now it's a 5. Now it's a 5.5. I can teach them to take baby steps and measure every week. This is the key to client retention.
It makes the process visible, right? Not just trackable, but visible. They see
Visible. They're
how they
seeing it.
progress. Hmm.
That's exactly right. And so when I say to them, the other thing is the creation of the strategies that we're going to talk about every week are not based on going from here to there. It's based on going from here to there.
Hmm.
That's a very different strategy I'm going to come up with. If my relationship is a 4 and I want it to be a 10, my gap is a 6. Okay. If I take 6 divided by 12 weeks, because I'm going to do it in 12 weeks, the answer is 0.5. So rather than saying, how can you as a client go from a 4 to a 10? They're going to say, I don't know. That's why I hired you. But if I say, what's one little thing you could do this week just to move from a 4 to a 4.5? That's a very different question. And that client will go, oh, I could probably take her to a nice dinner. I could, hold her and watch a movie together. Little things like that. I'm not asking for big strategies. I'm asking for a little tiny thing you could do this week to move yourself from a 4 to a 4.5. The next
How?
week, I'm going to
Yeah.
say, where are you now? I'm a
Yeah.
4.5 because that's what I was focused on. And the next week, a 5, and I can see the progress.
But how do they know they're a four?
It's subjective.
Subjective. Okay.
Very subjective because let me tell you, and that's a good point. You
Uh-huh.
know how many times I've heard about a relationship and then I say, where are you? And they go, oh, I'm a 4. If that was my relationship, it would be a 1
Hmm.
or a 2, maybe. So it's not my scale, it's their scale. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter. It's their scale. And I'm going to move them along their scale, not mine. Many
What?
times, if I'm doing couples coaching,
Yeah.
oh, it's a 6. And she'll say, oh, it's a 4. So they're not even on the same page. But
Okay.
it's okay. It's subjective to them.
So she would work from a four, he would work from a six.
That's right. And that's okay. You should see the look that he gives her when she says, I would give it a 4.
Sure.
But it's not my scale, and that's okay. We're going to
Yeah.
move along your scale because, as you said, they get to see it, touch it, feel it, taste it, as opposed to just, yeah, we had a good week. I feel better. That
Hmm.
doesn't work. And that doesn't keep them long term because when they feel better, they go, oh, well, then I don't need a coach anymore. Things are going great. But when
Yeah.
I show them you're only a 6, we got 4 more to go. Oh, yeah, I want to get to a 6.5. I want to get to a 7. What would a 7.5 look like? So I'm always keeping them on track by measuring 1/12 of the way there every week.
But now we only have 3 months, right? You said 90 days, yeah,
Correct.
or 12 weeks.
Well, it's 16 weeks because I have 4 sessions prior to that 12-week plan. So
Okay,
we have a process of bringing them clarity and then crafting the plan. That takes 4 weeks. So it's
right.
actually the first cycle, we call it a 13-week cycle,
Yeah.
is 16 weeks long, 4 plus the 12. That's
Hmm.
16 weeks. If they get one renewal, meaning they'll do another 90-day plan and
Yeah.
coach for another 12 weeks, you've now had that client 7 months already. 2 cycles is 7 months.
Hmm.
4 plus another 3.
How do you get them to do another cycle?
Oh, great question. I say to them, now that we tried our first 90-day plan, let's do a real one. They go,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to do yeah, let's do a real one. And then at least I'm going to have them for another cycle.
Mhm.
That's how I keep them long term.
What about the ethical part of that? I guess some people
Ethical.
might argue that, you're trying to coerce them into being coached longer than they need to.
I've had my coach 12 years.
Okay.
See, here's something I want to point out. A lot of people believe that coaching is fixing problems. That's not true. That is not real. That's therapy. You have a
Mhm.
problem with your mom when she hit you when you were a little boy. That's therapy. Coaching is taking that problem, turning it upside down to what you really want, not what you don't want. I'm not in the business of fixing problems. I'm in the business of making your life amazing, making your relationship amazing, making your health amazing, your finances amazing, working on all the things that we want to improve on. That'll never stop. I want to keep my client. I've had one client more than 7 years now that I think about it up in
Wow.
Canada. 7 years. We were just talking, a couple of days ago around, wow, it's been 7 years already. He goes, and I will never not have a coach. The clarity I get, the planning we do every quarter, the implementation, the accountability, every time we get on a call, I'm going to make sure I did what I said because you're going to hold my feet to the fire. I want an amazing life. You don't get to an amazing life and it stays there. I want to have a coach always holding me accountable, giving me a different perspective in all aspects of my life. If we're not working on my health, we're working on my marriage. If we're not working on my marriage, we're working on my parenting skills. If it's not my parenting, it's something else.
Well, it makes sense, right? You don't just stop at one goal. Well, many people or people that are interested in growth.
That's right. But only those people that came to you for a problem. And I tell them, I don't fix problems. I make your life amazing and the problem will go away.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very different perspective on coaching. It's not fixing problems. It's making your life amazing, any part of your life amazing. And in doing that, the problems will go away. And now that you get to an amazing level, you don't want it to continue being amazing. You want to keep that momentum going.
Yeah. So I guess like what you said, that's the very important part is to not try to fix their problem or not set the relationship up that you're there to fix their problem, right?
And that's what coaches do. That's a mistake they do in that first session. I'm going to help you with your problems. Nope. I'm going to turn your life around to what do you want, and we're going to go for that. Trust me, the problems will go away if you're having an amazing relationship, an amazing, business, an amazing whatever it is you're working on. If we make that amazing, the problems go away. Mm-hmm. The problem with our mind is that when we look at our problems and we focus on our problems, we get more problems. If I can get you to focus on what you really want and know what that really looks like, the problems go away because we're focused on making your life amazing.
I mean, obviously there are some problems, trauma and things like that just don't disappear. They probably need to be worked at, but
right.
But
if you have trauma in your life, that's different. We're not talking about, you can heal that trauma. There's no question about it. But coaching is more focused on where you're going, not fixing problems.
Let's go back to the coaching session in itself. Like, what do you do if your client doesn't follow through on the steps, on the strategies?
Great question. Every time you coach them after those 4 sessions, and now you're ready to do 12 sessions of measuring, every time you meet with them, only one of 3 things can actually happen. There's only one of 3 outcomes every week. 1, they do the strategies you discussed last week, and they hit the weekly target. Or they do the strategies and they do not hit the weekly target. That's possible. It didn't work. So we're going to change the strategies. Or they do not do the strategies at all. And what we have noticed here at Mars Venus, because we have John Gray trains us on what we call removing emotional blocks. Typically, when they don't do what they said they were going to do, it's a form of sabotage. And there is an emotional block. Things like resentment, procrastination, perfectionism, guilt, jealousy, blame. These are all emotional blocks that rear their ugly head when we start seeing some success. And the client doesn't allow themselves to be successful. We have a proprietary system of how to remove emotional blocks. It's really powerful. It really works. John Gray teaches it to all of our coaches around the world. And literally, and I've done it with myself. I mean, I had some blocks that I got a certain level of success and we sabotaged ourselves. So I wanted to be able to remove those. That's very unique and very proprietary for Mars Venus. We're not therapists, but we do need to remove those blocks so we continue to move them forward to success. Great question.
And
it happens a lot.
I would imagine it happens, right? Because people are really motivated and they're keen to do stuff in the beginning, and then life happens. So you're removing emotional blocks, but maybe the progress is slower than you initially planned. Are there any other strategies? Because in the end, you still want to have the client feel like they've achieved something, right?
Yep. Yes, and that's a good point because we don't focus on results. I know
Mhm.
that sounds counterintuitive. What we focus on in coaching is progress.
Mhm.
And yes, if a client doesn't go from a 4 to a 4.5, but they go from a 4 to a 4.25, that's okay. We're just going to recalculate. And I'm going to say we're going to add that to your next 90-day plan. So you're not going to get to 10, you're going to get to 8.5. And so, one golden rule we have at Mars Venus is we dictate the process, the client dictates the speed.
Okay.
I do not want to rush them through this process and overwhelm them. I don't want to go too slowly where I bore them. So I literally teach the coaches how to read your client. We
Mhm.
want to read whether we're going too fast or too slowly so that we make sure we're going at their pace. That's an excellent question because
Mhm.
going at their pace is important. I don't want to rush them and I don't want to bore them.
Makes sense. And now, when you get to the end of a cycle, be it the first or the fifth, doesn't matter. Um, do you go through an assessment again or an alignment?
We do. We do.
Okay.
Every three cycles we'll do another alignment. And it's funny because the alignment is a 9-page document
Uh-huh.
that goes really deep into how they think, their mindset. And I'm going to tell you, when I do a second one, 100% of the people, I say, don't look at the first one. Let's
Mhm.
just do a clean one. They do it, and then I put them side by side. And the client 100% says, I don't know what I was thinking when I filled that out the first time. I don't know where my head was. I am in such a completely different place. And this is how, again, we're showing them where they were and where they are now.
Mhm.
Now, where do you want to go? Because that creates that motivation of this thing works. So now, dream with me. I've said that so many times when we do a new 90-day plan. Now, let's stretch it out a little bit. Let's dream with me and put it on our next 90-day plan
Mhm.
because they see it does work.
To summarize, what are the, maybe you can make it into three, four, five most important points for coaches when they want to get into a long-term coaching relationship. What do they
Well,
need to
first,
do?
as I said at the beginning, first and
Mhm.
foremost is where they are, that dissatisfaction, where they want to go. Clearly, you have to employ all the senses and then connect it to an emotional why. That is
Mhm.
so, those three components must be in that first session. And you're really getting to that emotional point where they are now, where they want to go. You're creating that vision, you're creating that excitement, and they have to see it, touch it, taste it clearly and
Right.
then bolt it to an emotional why. Like you said, it takes at least three, but why do you want that and why do you want that? So that's the first step in getting them into the coaching process. Once
Okay.
they're into it, it is so important to start measuring where they are, where they want to go, divided by 12, because we always do it in quarterly cycles, 12 weeks. And so, therefore, we can not only measure it, they can see the progress, not just feel better. And as they see the progress, they start getting excited because we're not selling results. I know that sounds bad as a coach. We're selling progress because I
Mhm.
know if we get a little progress every single week, guess what? We're going to get those results. That's the summary of everything we talked about today.
And I guess important, make them see their progress.
That's right.
Right.
And that's where they get that feeling that you're a competent coach. You showed them where they are, you showed them where they're going, you bolted it to an emotional why. That's
Mhm.
when they say, this guy's good.
And what's the advantage of staying with a client for a long time?
Well, you
Like,
don't have to rebuild your coaching business every month. That's a problem. I know a lot of coaches before they became a Mars Venus coach said, Rich, I would get a client, I'd lose them. I'd get a client, I'd lose. That's exhausting. That's no way to run a business. I've
mhm.
had 9 clients for more than 5 years. I don't need to get more clients. I know I'm going to keep them for a very long time. What do I need to keep doing workshops, getting more clients, going out? I don't have to do any more marketing. And the last 2 or 3 clients came from referral.
Mhm.
That's the advantage is I don't have to keep getting new clients. Once you
and
get
what's
to a
the
certain level, you should be able to keep them.
and what's the advantage for the client to stay with a coach?
Oh, they become very close with you. They start really opening up. You are a confidant. You are a sounding board. You are a friend. I have a client that said to me the other day, you're one of my best friends. I never even thought about that.
Mhm.
I'm part of his family. I know everything about his kids and his wife and his relationships and his employees. And I've been business coaching him, but we talk about him and his train room. He goes downstairs and plays with trains all day. He loves it. We are really, really close. That's an advantage for them. They don't have to start a new relationship with somebody who doesn't know them. I know him. And when he says, I'm going to do this, I go, no, you're not. I know what your Tuesday looks like. Don't tell me, oh, yeah, you're right. You know what my Tuesday looks like. You really get to know. It's beneficial for both the coach and the client.
Because they can move further when they trust you.
When they trust you, when they know you, when you know them.
Cool. Well, thank you, Richard. I think that was a very valuable session. Now, for you at home, if you want to know if you have what it takes to become a Mars Venus coach, if you'd like to, get some more information around that, in the description, you will find a link to our quiz. It's a fun and a quick quiz. Fill that in, find out for yourself what it takes to become a successful Mars Venus coach. And thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Richard, for taking the time.